Hi guys, Dean Kesmento speaking, and welcome to another episode of My Virtual Coach. Now, you may have heard me talk about the importance of gratitude, and when we are grateful for those things that we have in our life, and when we spend time reflecting on that, we have a tendency to start to manifest more and more of those things that are good for us, that are good for both our mind, our body, and if you like, our spirit. And I've also spoken about, haven't I, in the past, about some really simple and easy processes that you can use to, assist you in finding a little bit more about yourself, creating a certain level of resourcefulness, if you like, or, creating a way of looking at things differently. And that's, I suppose, what coaching is all about. Another thing that coaching is all about is it's about becoming really quite clear on an outcome, but being quite clear on a goal or something that we want to have achieved by the end of a certain process. And a process that I want to share with you today is a really, really simple way of, one, identifying the things that we are grateful for, two, identifying things that we currently don't have, but we want, which is really good for creating action plans and accountability checking. Three, identifying some of the things that we currently do have, which we probably don't want, and what process can we put in place, or steps can we put in place to start sort of mitigating the effect of those don't want and don't haves. And then fourth, which is, is there anything that we're doing that I suppose is leading to catastrophic thinking, which is associated with the things that we don't want and we don't have, which is something that's sort of left unattended in this process. However, if you can see it properly, I know the vision's not that great the way I've got this set up, but we'll do the best we can. So here I've sort of labelled it as what am I grateful for, but another way it's termed in the coaching space, this is called the don't want and haves, okay? Or sorry, the want and haves. Now, if you have a look, once again, you'll see this similar to the focus and control model that we used in that previous episode, is we've got four quadrants. Okay, four quadrants. Okay, we've got the want and haves. Okay, the want and haves. We've got the want and don't haves. All right, and then we've got the don't want and haves, and then the don't want and don't haves. And to be honest, beyond thinking of certain levels of catastrophe or catastrophic thinking, I would like to put sort of a big X in there. Okay, something we don't really address, but this gives us a bit of a snapshot, a really good starting point in having, a coaching conversation with a client or a coaching conversation with yourself. It's a really good, almost visual representation of sort of where you're at right now. It gives you an insight of what's going on inside here, and is a really good way of creating traction moving forward in a direction that's going to move you towards fulfillment, inspiration, personal power, whatever you want, in any context of life, perhaps. Okay, so this could be to do with one context or cross context. What we're going to be doing here, as I described it to you right now, is just using it as a cross context tool technique. Okay, so it's really simple. Okay, once again, is you take some time to think about some of those things that you currently want and you have. All right, really simple. Okay, so it could be that you have, a loving wife, a loving husband, that you have a supportive family, that you have your health, that you have, a good income, that you are fit, that you have whatever, that you have great quality, a high quality job. It could be absolutely anything. The things that you want and the things that you have, and you go about listing all those things in that top left-hand quadrant there. Okay. Then, as we take the next step, think about those things that you want, but I suppose most importantly that you don't have. Okay. What are some of those things that you want that you don't have? Once again, it could be cross context, or it could be to do with one context. So once again, go ahead and get yourself your list. Okay, get yourself a A4 piece of paper, or put this down onto a spreadsheet. One app, if you think about apps that I like using this sort of stuff for, it's called Thoughts. Thoughts, you just go into the Apple Store and type in Thoughts, and it's a really, really cool journal that's really good for putting all this content in there. Okay, and then the bottom left-hand corner here is the don't want and haves. Okay, we think about don't want and haves. I have it, but I really don't want it. So It could be any sort of limitations in our thinking, any limitations in our time. It could be anything that's leading us to feel anything other than resourceful and positive, okay? It could be, for example, you could simply write negative self-talk, or you could write that you get angry easily, or you could write that you have a certain level of financial insecurity, or whatever, or things are never going your way, or you can't achieve your targets, or whatever it is, okay? There's some things that you don't want, but you actually have it now, okay? And then, as I said, we're going to leave this out here, the don't haves and don't wants. That should be have the don't haves and don't wants, okay? But once you've done that, you've got your list. There's two things that I really want you to point out here. There's so many different ways you can use this. Once you've got your list, okay, there might be 5 things in there, there might be 25 things in there. But one of the biggest things, once you've got the don't wants and haves, we spoke about finishing your day or finishing the evening, okay, or your day coming from a space of gratitude, right? And this is the first way you can use this. So a space of gratitude means reflecting on all those things that you want and that you currently have, okay, plus all the other stuff, and spending time thinking about all the value that is bringing to your personal and to your professional life, okay, and how much it's serving you in living up to a life the way you want to live it. Okay, and reflect on that and journal and write about it, and what thoughts come up when you think of all those amazing things that you do have. Okay, that's the sort of stuff that myelinates in your brain as you go to sleep. So that's one thing. Okay, that's one way to use this. Okay, the second way to use this, okay, here you've got your list of wants and don't haves. So here you could go about creating some simple steps or a direction to move towards to start achieving some of these things that you want but you don't yet have. Okay, all right. And often is the case that when we talk about, you would have heard this concept called 80-20, right? Okay, often is the case that it's really 20% of the things that you put into that space could potentially make all the difference, okay? And I think that's really, really important. And you see the 80-20 rule, or you see it everywhere, okay? But 20% of effort generally gets 20% of our results. 20% of our tasks here will get, 20% of our effort will get 80% of our results. 20% of our tasks will achieve, I suppose, 80% of what all those other tasks sort of comprise of. So what is that 20%? And starting to take some action and accountability on that. Okay, and just start with the first step. What might the first thing be? What's your first step? What's the next thing? Okay, create yourself an action, an action item list if you want. Give yourself a series of timelines or a list of achievements that you want to achieve over a certain period of time that start to fill this up, and which in effect that'll eventually come into here. Okay, all right. And here, when we're looking at the things that you don't want but you have, I don't want to put this down here because we learn so much from our voids. That's a nose there, okay. But when we think about, this guy here is looking down into his left, okay, is going into his internal dialogue. So he's thinking, what are some of those things that I don't want and don't have? And he'll probably run his eyes across the other way as well, okay. All right, so across that way and across that way, knowing that he's getting in touch with his feelings and emotions, and often negative. All right, so what are some of the things that you don't want, okay, that you don't want but you have, that you don't want but you actually have it? As I said before in the previous example, it could be something to do with certain levels of insecurity, both physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, whatever. It could be to do with negative self-talk. It could be to do with some sort of trigger that's triggering you off in a way that's unresourceful, that makes you feel uneasy. It could be to do with some relationships that you have with certain people, or you're not achieving certain levels of expectation in the workplace. Whatever it is. So some of the things you don't want, all right, but you actually do have. Okay, list those things down. And once you've done that, you could then go about, creating a list of ways to mitigate the don't wants and haves. Okay, the don't wants and haves. Okay, and we're going to leave that one out. It's a really simple tool that you can use any time of your life, that you can use in any context of your life, that'll assist you to create a really good visual, I suppose, representation of where you're at, where your thinking is at right now, and start to create a direction towards where you want to go. And speaking of direction, I sat with a client today and I asked her what it is that she wanted. And she found it really hard to answer that question, what she wanted. And I said to her, it's okay. I don't think you need to know exactly what you want, because that can change from every second, it can change from any minute, it can change within an hour, within a day. But I think the important thing is that we sort of know the direction with it. It doesn't have to be vivid, but we know the direction to which we're moving towards, and we're using the feedback of our emotions to guide us in that right direction, so we can, I suppose, reach our emotional potential, if you like. Okay, and this is just a good way of creating a direction for you and bringing things sometimes that were out of your conscious awareness, okay, that were sort of sitting there at the unconscious level, brings things to the fore a little bit, which then allows you to start taking some progressive steps towards fulfillment and inspiration, and dramatically increasing your efficiency and productivity and happiness in your personal and professional life. Okay, so hope that makes sense. I'm sure it does. It's really easy. You could always just Google that process and what it has. You might find it somewhere. You might find it on my website. But if you have any questions about it, make sure, why don't you directly send me an email at info@deankasmeno.com.au. And if you have any questions or concerns, if you're inquiring about coaching in both the personal and professional space, if you want to increase your sense of satisfaction, fulfillment, make sure you get in contact with me. My details are on the website at www.deankasmeno.com.au. So between now and then, have a great day, stay safe, stay well, and I will see you shortly. Take care. Bye.